All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for spending the time with me after a possibly very heavy night for some of you. So I really do appreciate you turning up this morning. My name is Mark. I'm the CSO and previously CTO at CyberCX. We are a services company. In Australia, hence my accent. If I start talking too fast or I'm using words that are unfamiliar, like autumn, just wave your arms and let me know that I've lost you. So what I'm talking about today, hopefully, is major bullets don't exist. Now, I'm going to give you some warnings. There you go. If you're buying software, that is your job, you're probably going to be a little bit cranky with me at some stage. If you're a vendor in the room, you are definitely going to be a little bit cranky with me at some stage. If you're in a procurement company or a procurement section, welcome. I appreciate you coming along to a session and learning more about our industry before you buy software. Fantastic. However, you are definitely going to be really cranky with me for a little bit. But I promise you, by the end of the talk, we'll all be friends again, okay? Because that's the whole point of being here in the first place. So why this particular talk? Well, the alternate title, or the working title for this talk was Mark's Angry Rant at Vendors and Customers Alike. And that was pretty much because I had a horrendous week with some vendors, with some customers. Someone threw in a couple of tenders as well at the same time, a couple of contracts to review, and my personal favourite, security questionnaires from customers, because they're just the joy of life. And then we're doing some work about 8 p.m. and my marketing lady pings me. She lives 3 hours behind me in a different time zone. She pings me and says, "Hey, do you realise that the call for papers finishes at midnight tonight? And you should really submit something, Mark." What am I going to talk about? Oh, I know. Angry. Submitted it, and by about 1 a.m. I got ping, accepted. And I went, oh, drats, going to have to do a presentation now. But that was a little while ago, but this one is the evolved version. How can I talk about this topic? Well, we're a services company. We obviously sell products as well. So we're an integrator. We're the worst, right? Because we're an integrator, we're a customer, and we're a seller at the same time. So we make all the mistakes that I'm going to be talking about, to a certain extent. Last 2 years, I've evaluated over 200 vendors and their security solutions in the market. And to be fair, that's 3-4 a week, and I just don't have time to sit through all the rigmarole. The number of times I've been explained to how I've got analyst fatigues and how, socks are really busy. So yes, thank you, buddy. Skip past that bit, please, and get to the relevant bits. So yeah, I've had a bit of experience dealing with this. Obligatory disclaimer page, there you go. You can use anything in my presentation for anything you like. That's my disclaimer right there. So you were right, you have to stand close. So buying software is hard work, right? It's not as easy, you just wake up. If you've been down to the vendor floor, and by now I assume you have, there's 1,200 different choices that you can make. That's hard work, and they're all coming to you. You're going to be flooded with phone calls and emails over the next few months of vendors that want to be your bestest buddy, okay? That's just the reality of it. We also have people that are buying the software. We have procurement teams. We have all kinds of processes that we need to have in place. And we have all these different parties involved. And unfortunately, they all have their slightly different objective. And some of them are not the ones that you care about. They're the ones that they care about. So that's what we're going to be chatting about and actually having a look at those problems. And we'll see where we go. So we've got some main players here, right? Obviously, the buyers. You guys, most of you, and you have risks that you want to solve. You've got problems that you want to fix. You've got, well, hopefully you're going to buy something that you actually solves your problem. And this is one of the first problems here, right? A lot of organizations end up purchasing something for a problem they do not have, or a problem they don't care about right now, or a problem they probably shouldn't be caring about right this minute. Okay, I was talking to a customer who was insisting that they should be deploying deception technology into their environment. Fantastic. How about we get your password sorted out first before we start doing that? Okay, so they you know, on the maturity scale, yeah, sure, but deception technology is quite up there with the maturity scale. Let's fix the basics first. So people do that. Okay, I hope what we buy is going to address our risk. Everybody's experienced this, right? You've watched a late night infomercial and you go, yeah, that's going to fix my problem. Okay, and then it turns up and you go, what the heck is this? We've done that with software. You've done that with software. The other ones, living with past decisions. That's the one that I'm kind of living with after I moved into the CSO role. You know, obviously I'm living with decisions that my predecessor made. And now luckily I know the guy, so I know his decisions are mostly sensible. But if I want to make changes or improve things, I'm going to have to deal with what was there. I'm going to have to deal with that 3-year contract that he signed up for. I'm going to have to deal with the vendor that he decided was the right one at that right time. Everybody in this room, you know, if you've been a CISO, for example, for less than maybe 2-3 years, and you don't work for a startup, okay, well, actually, that's not true. If you do work for a startup, you're still dealing with other people's choices because they were made before you got there, before they decided that, hey, maybe we should do some security stuff. So living with past decisions is something that we need to overcome. The other player, of course, is the vendor. You know, why does the vendor exist? The vendor exists to sell products. They have a product that solves one or more of them, and they must have sales in order to survive. Now that drives certain types of behavior, which we'll talk about in a minute. Okay, so that's another challenge. We have a further challenge. We have integrators. So this is me, right? I'm one of these. We install, manage, and integrate solutions. We provide managed services. When we provide managed services, we don't want to manage every single iteration of every single SIEM out there on the planet because that becomes a nightmare. That's not cost effective. So we kind of have to hitch our bets on one particular horse or 2 particular horses, or in this case, by now about 5 different horses. But, you know, we need to stick to those. So if a customer comes along and says, I want a SIEM, well, that's great. Here is one that we like, and hopefully they agree or not. Now, sometimes that choice is good for an organization, sometimes that choice is not so good with an organization. But they have relationships with different vendors. So as we'll see in a minute, what that actually means is that your choices are reduced. All right? So if you're an outsourced organization and you're working with one particular outsourcer, you are going to get what they like. Now, whether that's necessarily good for you or whether that's great for the organisation, that depends. So that's kind of my big challenge there. And then, of course, we've got procurement and independent advisor. So procurement is there to get the, now, I don't know if I should do this with air quotes or not, but we might as well, best outcome for the organisation. Okay? From a financial perspective, let me just add that to the back of it. And don't get me wrong, not all procurement is evil. You know, some of my best friends are procurement people. The reality, though, is that they're there to play a specific role. And as we'll see in a second, okay, when I start talking about buyer's regret, okay, what we'll see is that procurement, especially procurement companies, they have a specific aim in mind, and that is not necessarily one that matches yours, okay? Now, you're not supposed to be able to read this chart, you're just supposed to be overwhelmed with what's on there, okay? That is one of the other challenges that we have. We have so many vendors down on the floor. If you go down to the floor and you want to hit well, you can literally throw a dart into the air and you'll hit one of the vendors that you know, does, I don't know, supply chain risk management. That seems to be pretty popular this year. A few years ago, it was all zero trust. You could literally throw a ball into the right and you'd hit a zero trust person. Various other ones. So there's a lot of choice. Now, in Australia, we're lucky because most of these vendors don't operate in our region. They just don't come even near. So when first time I came to RSA, there's more than 30 vendors that exist in this space? Oh my God, what do I do now? Hence the 200 plus meetings, right? So we have all of these choices. We want to cut through them, and that's what we're going to be talking about, right? So here are some of the changes that we're seeing in vendors, and this is behaviour that we've observed as a partner to 178 software vendors, by the way. So, you know, we deal with a lot of them. We see a lot of increased niche, and if you walk the floor, you'll see the same thing, right? Our product does one thing. Especially the younger the company is, the more likely it is that they're only solving one specific problem. Please, 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 if you don't have that problem, stop talking to that vendor. Yeah, just move along, go talk to someone else. All right, and that's one of the biggest challenges that I see in the organisations is we're kind of doing this procurement process the wrong way around. Okay, we're not necessarily looking at what problems we're trying to solve. We're looking at solving the problem that the vendor talked to us about last week or the last month that we should be solving right now because, well, someone told us to. Now, there will be occasions where, you know, a vendor comes along and you go, dang, yeah, right, I actually do have that problem. I had one of those moments a couple of years ago with one vendor where they said, we do this. And I went, you know what, I hadn't actually considered that that was a problem, but mostly because I didn't think there was a possible solution for it. But you guys seem to have actually fixed that problem. Fantastic, come along with me. Okay, so there are those things. We are seeing changes in integration, obviously, because there's more integration, and we can kind of thank Gartner a little bit for that because they came out with a cyber mesh idea. Remember that one? No? Yes? Few nods in the room. Cyber mesh is basically all the vendors on the floor are all happy, and they all the products talk to each other and natively inform the other one. So your threat intel can talk to you directly to your firewalls, and your X can directly talk to something else. It's a great concept. I'm hoping that you're a little bit skeptical about that because that's typically not how it ends up working. But there is that increased integration, but that's important, right? The solution that you need, does it actually integrate with what you have? Yeah, we've got 500 connectors. Yes, you've got 500 connectors for stuff I don't have. Yeah, the 10 things I really care about, you don't have a connector for. We'll build it. Great. One vendor, I'm still waiting. 4 years later, I've actually tasked one of my dudes to just go and write it. So I told him, Richard, he's a whiz, Richard, go write the connector between that, and we'll sell it back to the vendor. I mean, they'll get upset. Yep, they will. Just tell them Mark said so, and they'll go away. There's a lot of platform players now, so obviously it's in the vendor's interest for you to buy into their particular way of doing things. We got Microsoft doing that, we got Trend Micro doing that, we got Trellix doing that, we've got insert your favorite vendor or your least favorite vendor in that bucket, and they'll all be doing the same thing. SaaS only solutions. If you're one of those companies that actually needs an on-prem solution, how hard is it to buy stuff? It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. That doesn't make SaaS solutions bad, by the way. I'm definitely not saying that. All right? But I am saying it makes it difficult for us to actually do what we need to do. Oh, it's okay, it's in the cloud. Okay, thank you. And then the acquisitions and mergers, we're seeing a lot of those, right? And they're important because let's just imagine, and I won't be, well, unless I do it accidentally, I won't be mentioning any company names. If you want to know, ping me after. Acquisitions and mergers. Startups. They're built to build a product, get it out the door, okay, and hopefully be acquired. Now, you only get acquired for two reasons. One, you have a good product and whoever buys you wants to use it. Or you have a good product and whoever buys you wants to make it disappear. Or you have a bad product and you just die, okay? Or you have a bad product, someone buys it, tries to make, paint the pig a different color and hope for the best. Those are kind of the most of the options. If you now got a 3-year contract, how's that going to work? So, and we had this situation in one of my previous lives. We bought a piece of software and we went, this is the one we want. We've selected this out of 5 different choices. That's the one we want. We had the vendor literally come into us and say, you can't buy that product. What do you mean we can't buy that product? Well, we just acquired that company and we've decided to withdraw it from the market. Okay, how about you just F off, and we just won't deal with you guys at all. Now that was luckily I was in an agency where we could do that. Not everybody has that choice. We're also seeing changes in vendors. We're seeing changes in vendors, and this is probably, you guys would have seen this as well. You've seen the behavior, different behavior in PE companies and VC companies on how they're approaching the market, which means that people like Palo and oh, there we go, wasn't going to do that, CrowdStrike and others are now being forced to, hey guys, it's about time, we've given you lots of money, it's about time you get a bit of profit, thank you very much. Now, why is that important? Because that changes the behavior of an organization, right? Before, they'd be making deals to get you as a customer. Now, they're making deals to make a lot of profit. Now, the two can be true. You can make a profit and still get a great deal, but it makes it harder. It means that they're starting to push for multi-year deals. And one particular vendor that's been sold within the last 12 months or so was kind of notorious for that, right? Sorry, I can't really do 1-year deals. How about a 3-year deal? I can do 3-year deals. If I do a 3-year deal, I can give you a discount. Yeah. So they're kind of forcing you down that 3-year path. Now that's a vendor where if you'd bought it, you'd be using it for 3 years anyway. So that's not a big challenge, but it might not be what you want. My budget cycle is annual. I can't do 3-year deals. Why not? Because my CEO won't let me. He says, just do 12 months. That's it. Multi-year deals, the funniest one I had was a renewal. I could do a 3-year renewal for a discounted price. And I'm looking at the pricing. I call in the rep. So my discount is substantial. Oh, yeah. Okay, according to my calculations, it's $10. So for $10, I'll be fine. Oh, okay, that must be a mistake. Are you sure? Yeah, that must be a mistake. They came back with $100 or something like that. So it's like, on your bike, son. That's not going to happen. The 1-year discounting is becoming popular as well. So if you sign on a 3-year deal, we'll discount year 1. So for the grey-heady people in the room, that's the old CA approach, remember that? Yeah, CA, you got a really good deal in the first year, and then the second and third and fourth year you'd lose your kidney, your arms and your legs. So there's a bunch of those. The other thing that we're seeing now, this probably doesn't affect you guys, but it affects me as an integrator. Vendors moving into services. Oh, we've decided we're going to do the services ourselves. Great. What do you want me as a partner to do? Compete? Yeah, that's not good. Why is that not good? Because it's not good for the customer either. Okay, I can guarantee you that my rates are lower than the vendor's rates. How do I know that? Well, because the vendor's rates usually don't start until about $4,000 a day. Okay, because we're the vendor. We know how to do this really quickly. My guys know how to do it really quickly, and they'll do it for half the price. Okay, but that changes the dynamic. It changes the way that the companies behave. Which brings me to my favorite slide. So I was looking at disappointed customers, I was looking at disappointed vendors and kind of going, why is this the case? So I did some research and looking around, and then Gartner came along and went, actually we've done some research on this. And I went, fantastic, let's have a look at it. Buyer regret. So this is organizations and people in organizations purchasing security solutions, and then after a 12-month period going, I wish I hadn't bought that, copper-coated steel ceramic induction-proof cooking pot. That the 12-litre one, not or the 5-gallon one. 73% of buyers who hadn't installed it after X number of months regretted their solution. Now that one I get. I've had customers, and you guys may have as well, where they've bought a product, it sat on the shelf, you went in for the renewal and they said, here's your renewal money, and you went, don't you want help actually implementing that? Yeah, no, we'll be fine. We had one customer renew for 3 years in a row and never installed a product. It was so frustrating. They even didn't want to install it. I told them after, midway through year 1, I will give you the engineers to install it. I will write your change controls for you, which was a horrible job in that organization. I'll write the change controls. I'll do the change communications for your staff in the entire organizations. Just let us do it. It'll take us 2 weeks. we'll do it. 2 weeks consulting for free. No, we're fine. So renewed for 4 years. Never used the product. Now, this is my favorite bit. That level of buyer's regret, as in, oh gee, I wish I hadn't bought that, goes up to 92% when a third party is involved in the purchasing process. So this is why, you know, we're kind of hating on procurement just right now, okay? There's reasons for that. But 92%, that's staggering. Imagine going to the supermarket every week, okay? And because, I don't know, your partner is sick and your neighbour got involved in buying your groceries, now you turn up with a whole basket of groceries and the only thing you like are the tomatoes. Sorry, tomatoes. I'll translate. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. We had a spectacular example in Australia for this. Queensland, which is one of our states, you know, kind of takes up the top corner of the country. We jokingly say it's an hour and 20 years behind. That's a bit mean, but their Department of Health bought a payroll system from a vendor. $100 million in, someone went, you know what, doesn't work. What do you mean it doesn't work? Well, it doesn't pay anyone. That's a problem for a payroll system. It doesn't pay anyone. And there's a few other challenges with it as well. And that was purely because the people that were actually involved in that purchase had nothing to do with paying staff. They just didn't know the processes, they didn't understand it. And we do that too. We do that too. So Gartner came up with, or they identified 4 different areas of what the factors were in that high regret. Some of these will be familiar to you. Some of these you'll look at and you'll go, oh yeah, makes sense. And hopefully 1 or 2 of them will be, that seems a bit off. So occasional decision makers. Occasional decision makers is what goes towards that 92%. Okay, someone who's never done security solutions, someone suddenly coming in making procurement decisions on your behalf. Okay, not just procurement decisions, and I'm not just talking money. You don't need that feature. What do you mean I don't need that feature? I put it in my requirements. No, you don't need that. Okay, why not? Well, because the other option is cheaper. Thank you, I think. So that's a problem. We've had. This is my favorite. No IT or security representation at all in the purchasing process. Why did you buy this? Oh, because, you know, we needed X. But we didn't ask for it. You didn't ask us how it implemented. We had one customer who bought a CSPM, so Cloud Security Posture Management solution. It's a really good product, all right? Works really well, AWS, fantastic. Only challenge, that customer had one AWS account, which was basically a playpen for someone, and they had a massive Microsoft stack sitting there on the side. So how's my CSPM doing anything for that side? Oh, well, it will. Okay, when? The end of this year. So in 2 months' time? Yes. What have they got now? Nothing. Okay, so that's 18 months. They still don't have it in their product. So, yeah. And that's just asking silly questions. The other challenge is revisiting decisions already made in the buying process. We've all been subject to this, right? So you're making a decision and someone comes along and says, actually, we should also do this. So let's just tack that on, and that makes the change, yeah. And then scope changes during the process. So ineffective evaluation, so actually not kicking the tires hard enough on the products that you're trying to look at, right? That's a big challenge. And that comes with evil people like me, advisors and integrators, saying, hey, this is a solution that's good for you. Okay. Now we fix that inside of our company, but maybe not in other companies. And then there's an interesting one, insufficient information from vendors. The vendors just not providing enough information. The other one that they had is lack of focus. So people just get distracted during the procurement process. Life goes on. You need to deal with security incidents. You need to deal with other stuff in your environment. You just don't have time to dedicate to that procurement process. That's a bit of a factor there as well. That goes, yeah, that's fine. I've been guilty of that. It's like, yes, Junior, just take care of it. And then go, oh, hey, Junior, why did you do that? Because you told me to take care of it. Oh, yeah, okay, that's on me. And then there's an interesting one as well, paid workshops. Turns out paid workshops are really good for vendors, not so good for you making a decent solution choice. Okay, because typically what happens there is you've invested money into a particular solution. You kind of go, oh, well, we've already spent this much on it, we should just buy it. Yeah. So good for vendors, not so much for the buyer in that place. But those are the two that I wanted to point out. Insufficient information from a vendor. We see this all the time, and this is both before and after, and it's timely. So you go to a vendor, say, and I have to do this a lot. We have some peculiar, let's call it government requirements on our company. So they don't exist for other companies, they only exist for us. We're a private equity funded. The private equity fund is all kinds of countries, so the government came along and said, you are only allowed to store, process data in Australia. So, which means that something like Microsoft Copilot, we can't use it. Why not? Because when you submit the data, we don't have a processing location in Australia. The processing location happens in the US. That means your data goes over there and it comes back again. We can't do that. We're not allowed to do that. We're breaking regulations. So, but that kind of information is sometimes really challenging to get. There's a male organisation who's having a bit of a trouble at the moment, but they did the same thing. They said, well, we connect through API and we'll process the data. And I kept on asking them, so, well, where you're actually processing that data? Because, you know, you said you call, oh, but we're calling it through API. Yeah, that's really nice. But where are you calling it from? Because that means that your process, no, it doesn't. It means that we just, you know, your data stays in your tenancy. Yeah, I get that my data stays in my tenancy, but a copy of my data goes to where you want to process. Oh yeah, okay, well that's in Ireland. Well, Ireland is still not part of Australia. Now, we're apparently part of Europe because Eurovision Song Festival, here we come. But you know, that doesn't work very well for data sovereignty. So that's a particular problem. So that kind of lack of information is what kills deals. The other bit that kills deals from the insufficient information is just documentation. We've had complaints from customers saying, I've asked the vendor for this over and over again and I'm just not getting the information that I need to make a decision. And you end up making decisions on incomplete information. Post-sale, it's a problem as well. We've got a vendor who was very strong on on-prem, and then they decided to move their product to cloud, to mostly cloud. And that's okay, I can live with that. But when you're in the cloud portal and you go, how do I do blah? It says, oh, you do this, this, and this. And you go look for it in the cloud portal and you go, it's not there. And then you do a support ticket and you go, where is it? Oh, it doesn't exist. What's in your manual? How do I do this? Oh yeah, we haven't written that part of the manual yet. Oh, well, thank you very much. That just made your product completely useless to me. It doesn't just happen once, it happens many, 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 many times. And I'll see a few nods, so you probably know who the vendor is. That's irritating. That leads to buyer's regret because I now have this really nice SaaS product that I don't know how to use because, well, things. So, yeah, that's a problem. So, let's fix that. Okay, I've bored you enough with problems. Let's go and look at a few solutions. So before you start buying stuff, and these will be the items, right? But we need to kind of get to them. People do not necessarily understand why they're purchasing things. So, you know, are you doing that to reduce your risk? Are you actually just reacting to something? I react to stuff. Yeah, I got a message from my, well, I guess he's technically my boss. My boss yesterday said, oh, you got to look at this vendor. We want it. Okay, what does it do? So I'm actually now driving down to Silicon Valley tomorrow to go and evaluate a product. Yeah, so that's very reactionary. Do I want it? Probably not. Does it solve a problem? Hopefully. Will it? We'll see. So regulation changes, automation, so what are the reasons why you are actually making this decision, okay? That's what you need to know. Does that mean I've got 10 left or I've got 10 to go? 10 left before questions. Okay, all right, I'll go faster. Are you making these choices to automate things? So they're all good reasons to do stuff. You just need to understand why, okay? So do your initial research. That seems like a duh moment, but I know. On your technical evaluation, go kick the tires. Look at the right to play features. So these are the features that a product should have in order to call itself a blah. Yeah? If you have a mail product that doesn't route mail, then you probably haven't got a mail product. If you've got a CSPM that doesn't actually look at posture, then you probably haven't got a CSPM. So those are the right to play features, something that makes them different from the competition. That's what I look for. So whenever I evaluate products, I look for what makes you different from all the other vendors in this space. Because let's face it, you're not necessarily unique. There's going to be many others. What makes you different? And actually ask them straight up, what makes you different? And then if they come back with certain answers, I've got some trigger words on the next bit of this slide. Then I ask them what they're good at. Okay, I know the features that you have, right to play. Now tell me what you're really good at. And this is, sorry if you're a vendor in the room, this is where you make vendors squirm, right? Because a good salesperson will be able to tell you straight off the bat. A slightly less good salesperson will sit there and go, well, it does this. Yeah, you already told me that. What's it really good at? And then once you've got that, past that one, you ask them what it's bad at. What does your product really not do? And if they come back with an answer, well, it doesn't make coffee, all right, you're out the door, thank you very much. Every vendor, every solution out there does things well, does things kind of okay, all right? And it goes back to the right to play features. The right to play features are there so they can fit into a particular category of product, which means that they kind of do it. And we see this in the cloud space very much so, right? So your cloud security posture management, your cloud, your KIM products, so cloud identity management products, anything that starts with a C and a few acronyms afterwards. Those products are all kind of overlapping. Some of them are really good at doing vulnerability management. So if you want that, fantastic, buy that one. Okay, but if you want visibility on your assets, well, one of these other products might actually be better at that, but it doesn't do the vulnerability management. So you need to understand what's actually more important to you. Is vulnerability management more important, or is visibility more important? Because that is going to change your choice, all right? Because they're not necessarily good at it. But there's one vendor that I know of that does all three of those, including KIM, right? But they'll actually tell you, KIM, it's not there yet, all right? And if you're okay with that choice, buy the product. If you're not okay with that choice because KIM is why you really, really want something, then don't buy that one right now. Yeah? Or decide to talk to them in 6 months' time when they've got it. So decide what you truly care about and then obviously test them if you can or need to. So maybe do a proof of concept, right? So or a proof of value. Then the claim. I love these are trigger words for me. We do zero trust, fantastic. If you remember RSA, 2018 or 2019, if you went down to the floor, everything was zero trust because that's the term of the day. What do? We do zero trust identity, fantastic, thank you very much. What do? We do zero trust, okay, which bit? We do connectivity, fantastic. Do you do identifying people as well? No, we don't identify people. We just give them a secure connection. Okay, so you're a VPN and you're an identity provider. Thank you very much. I understand what you do. All right, but the term was just so all-encompassing, it was hard to figure out what an organization actually did. You need to ask them. The other trigger word for me, AI. We do AI and ML. And of course, today, we do Gen AI. Yeah. So I saw too many presentations with AI, so I had to drop a Gen AI in there. And then my personal favorite, reduces fatigue. It's okay if your product does AI, but tell me exactly what it does. Don't tell me, no arm-wavy AI. I had one vendor saying, we do all of our AI and behavioral analysis on the endpoint. No, you don't. You can't. You can load a model onto the endpoint, enforce a model into the endpoint, but the smart stuff has to happen somewhere else. It doesn't happen on the endpoint. You just don't have the room because the machine wouldn't do anything. So, well, you know, our model's so good it doesn't. Okay, move along. So we need to have a look at that. Implementations, APIs, insane APIs, we've all seen them. You know, this goes back to that integration. Do you integrate it, yes or no? Here's an API. Whoa, what am I supposed to do with that? We have one API for one of our vendors where you need to do a call to the system in order to start a particular search. You get a number. When you get the number back, you do a second call that gives you the results of that number, which gives you a list of results, which you then have to retrieve one by one, which is actually a document which you then have to parse in order to find the information that you want. That is not a sane API. Okay, so if APIs are important, make sure that you look at it, integrations, blah, 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 and then the total cost of ownership of it as well. Non-technical, you need to look at what data is shared. I've already talked about that. How big is the company? Because if it's a startup, it'll have certain cycles. It'll have big names on their screen, okay? Probably a well-known secret, I don't know. But when a startup has big names on the thing, it means that there's a connection there somewhere with the founders or something else who has a friend who lives in that core company. The friend may or may not have. Now, this is not true in all cases, but it certainly has been in a few that I looked at. They may have a friend in that big organization. They've implemented it in a tiny little corner that nobody cares about. Okay, so in my case, Alice Springs, for example, which is in the middle of the country in the desert. Nobody cares what happens there. You know, but they can put the logo on the screen. So just be a little bit aware of that one. Not important for you guys. Time zones in country. In-country support, very important for us. Not so much for you guys because it's all in country. And then the standard, you know, right to audit, right to test, etc. Okay. Usable logs is a good one. If you care about your security, having usable logs is always nice. If the product doesn't generate them, maybe that's not the product for you. So here's the few helpful slides, and we'll go quick on the last ones. What buyers can do to help vendors. This is what you can do, is actually make sure that you identify and clear. And you're going to say, yeah, we do that. No, you don't. Okay. I will share you a tender that I got last week. We did a tender which was an organization, forward-thinking, doing AI as security use cases for GRC, security operations, and other bits and pieces. Okay, nothing wrong with that. There are solutions for that. They wanted us to build it with them. Also, great initiative, I like it. The only problem is basically the requirement was such that it really felt like the person had been watching an episode of Star Trek and went, I want that. I want to be able to say, computer, rewrite the code for the navigation system and reroute it via the coffee machine. And it would just do that. Yeah, so that's kind of what they were expecting. A little bit unrealistic, but that's what people get asked for. All right? Understand the problem, we talked about that. What are your mandatory hire? We get so many documents where every single requirement is mandatory. It can't be. Not possible. When that happens, obviously, it means that there's been a vendor and they've only asked for the requirements that are met by that one particular product. So in our case, we just don't usually even bid on that because that's just a waste of time. But you be careful of that. And can you live with about 80%? That's probably the important part there. Okay. And vendors always want to know what your budget is and what your deadline is, and sometimes that's okay to just share. Yeah. We have got vendors out there who will give you the Taj Mahal and then say, oh yeah, we'll work out how much it's really going to cost depending on which features you want to bring the price down. That's fantastic. But, you know, you've seen the top model of the car and now they're going to give you the budget version. I mean, come on. Just show me what budget looks like. Don't show me the top model. I don't want to see it. I don't want to know what I'm missing out on. So what vendors can do to help buyers, be clear about what you do. If you can't say, oh, 1 minute. If you can't say in a few sentences what your product actually does, then maybe you just need to kind of revisit your go-to-market. Right? I had one meeting, 90-minute meeting with a vendor, 45 minutes in. I had to stop them and said, guys, we've been going for 45 minutes. You've explained me about analyst fatigue. You've explained to me how AI works, and you explained to me how Zero Trust works. Now, please tell me what your product actually does. What problem is it solving for me? And that took them another 20 minutes to do, after which I lost my block and just kicked them out. Licensing models. Licensing models are confusing. Looking at you, Microsoft, sorry, if you're in the room. Everybody knows Microsoft licensing. Even Microsoft doesn't understand their licensing, which is really quite annoying. But if you as a vendor can't articulate your licensing model, or give clarity. So I think on one of the other slides I had the total cost of ownership on the clarity of your licensing. If your licensing is such that I don't know what I'm going to be paying next month or the next year, that's a problem. I had one where I was expecting to pay $5,000 a month, and I get a phone call from the vendor and says, have you realized that you've racked up $1 million worth of costs? And I went, after I picked my heart up off the floor, I went, no. And then thinking, very second moment, how am I going to explain to the CEO and the CFO I've blown away $1 million in a month? So luckily it was a mistake. Which I found in about 3 minutes, so hey, but that was still definite sticker shock. We be prepared to explain your claims as a vendor. So your next steps, really quickly, I promise we're going to go over a little bit, but it'll be in QA time, so it's okay. Next week, if you're a buyer, okay, check your security stack. Actually have a look at your security stack. Categorize your security products that you have right now into protect, detect, respond, and manage. Yeah? What does it fit in? And then look at what balance you have. If you've got everything in detect, you probably need to spend a little bit more in protect and or manage, right? Or even respond. If everything is in protect bucket, you probably, well, protect and detect are nice and easy, because if you're protecting it, you should theoretically be able to detect it as well at the same time. But you might need to spend money in the other buckets. All right, so after that, find a friend in procurement. I know. And if you're in procurement, find a friend in security team, okay? Trust me, if you understand the purchasing process, which will be a painful week, let's be pessimistic, a painful week of your life, but you'll understand the process better, they'll understand you, they'll understand that when you say, I really need this feature, it means that you really need that feature, yeah? So get to know them. Look at the stock take data that you've got. So you've classified all your things. Look at where your gaps are. Decide where you care that you still have a gap. Okay. And I have another presentation that I do, which is basically mapping your products to the cyber kill chain, so the Lockheed cyber kill chain, and it makes it really nice and easy. Saying, well, I've got all my eggs are in the exfil bucket. The last bucket, I really need to start shifting that left towards the, reconnaissance and actually stopping the exploitation in the first place. So that's kind of nice. Refine your evaluation criteria for technology, so make sure that you know what you care about. So that's going towards that 80%. And then within 6 months, that's when you start talking to your vendors again. Yeah, start talking to your vendors and say, hey, I've got this problem. Yeah, be brave, people, be brave. Yeah, when a vendor comes to you, you go, yeah, let's have a coffee, but I'm not going to buy it because it's not on my roadmap right now. It's not a problem I have right now. I appreciate if you are going to buy last week of the quarter, last week of the year, you can get fantastic deals that week. Sorry, vendors. But, well, it's a strategy. For the vendors, though, I mean, not leaving you hanging either. All right, next week, check your product messaging, make sure that you hit the mark for clarity. If you can't explain your product, if you can't explain your licensing, you need to fix that, okay? Have clarity on a problem you solve, have clarity on the data you use, where it is and where it's stored and where it shouldn't be. Make sure that you have the information ready for customers when they ask for it, not 2 weeks after the procurement has been closed or the tender has been lost or won. Understand where the product is now, what is actually in your product, what is coming in your product, and oh, that's right, we call it a roadmap. Have a roadmap that you stick to. Now, roadmaps can be dangerous as well because some companies are under, remember that changes slide where I had, lots of changes? Roadmaps change, okay? There's at least a couple of vendors I know of that are on the floor down there where they've had pressure from their VC company to make money, and they're now just basically throwing everything into the pot and decide, okay, well, what are we going to do next to get people to pay us more money? instead of actually honouring their original roadmap, which would have been probably a better move in the long run. Okay, and that's it. There we go. Made it. Sorry. Did you hit? Woo! I always worry that I go too fast and then I go too slow and then I go too fast and then but I got there.
What's your best guess for good processes that turn out bad results? So you have this great process, you've got the requirements identified, everything, you got a scoring grid and everything, and you end up with a sucky product you don't want. So what have you seen? Where does that go wrong usually?
Usually that's because either a lack of information that's been provided by a vendor or incorrect information. So you need to do some independent research, right? So if you're buying a product and you're taking all your information from the vendor, that's probably not the greatest thing. Especially in the US, you've got a great community, right? Especially CISOs, you've got a great network of being able to talk to other CISOs, ask them the question. Because you've got good products with bad vendors, you've got bad products with good vendors, there's a mix of those. You just kind of need to get, so you've got the process. If you are still getting bad products when you've got good processes, then you just need to look at that process and see where it's going wrong, to be honest. I'm sorry.
Makes sense, thanks.
Yeah, sorry dude. Hey.
Hi, I'm a product manager.
Hey, woohoo! One of my favorite people.
Oh, yay.
Welcome.
So I see you're talking about roadmaps and what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're very weird about what we want to show to customers.
Absolutely.
So I'm wondering, what do you look for when you're going through a sales process? What do you look for in a roadmap?
Simple roadmaps. What are the features that I care about that you're going to be producing? And the good vendors will listen to their customers saying, hey, we need this particular feature in our product. And a lot of the time, they're right to play features, which is okay. But if you have something sexy coming up, okay, tell them.
Yeah.
All right. But be pessimistic about your delivery, right? Don't say it'll be there in 6 months' time when you and I both know that add another 6 months to it at least anyway. Yeah. So I'm still waiting on a feature that was promised in June last year. So it's like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
But yeah, for the roadmaps, I don't know, guys. What do you want to see in a roadmap? What's coming? I want to see what's real and what's not. Yeah. That's what I want to see. Which one of the features that you have in your product is one that is there right now, and which ones are that you're working on. And it's okay that you're working on it. Just tell us when. Yes, sir.
What would you say are exceptional attributes of some of the best vendors that you've ever had that make them that have made them your
It's not necessarily
favorites or best.
So okay, if we go from, let me start with salesperson, and I'll work up to the company. One of the best salespeople I've had is one that said, Mark, you're not ready for this. Talk to me in 6 months' time. That's been one of the best ones. So you don't have this problem. You will have this problem, but you don't have it right now. You need to focus on other stuff. I'll come back in 6 months' time. And in 6 months' time, strangely enough, what did I do? I bought their product. All right, because I was ready for the product, I needed it then, he was right there, we just bought it, okay? From a vendor perspective, as a partner, I look for, obviously what are our discount rates and things like that, but I also look for behavior in the organization. And organizations go through ups and downs. So, some organizations have got great product, but they change through different pressures, and their internal commission plans changes for their guys, which means that starts driving different behavior, which means that we as a integrator get either different deals or we suddenly find ourselves undercut or not. So a vendor that's good supports you, they honor their deal regs and things like that, or at least make it an even playing field. Having a good discount plan or a margin plan is always nice, and just basically not behaving like you want your bad neighbour to behave is probably the best way to describe it. But a salesperson that's brave and says, you don't need me today, come talk to me in 6 months' time when you do, that's something I respect. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Thanks for the question. All right, thank you very much. I'll be around if you are shy and want to ask a question elsewhere.